I'm so happy to have Max Steele back again for this special 90-day review episode of Portland City Council.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming, man.
Of course. Happy to be
I
here.
was going to hit this. You can hit it if you want to. I rarely use it, but it's just
All
a celebratory kind of thing, even though I don't know how celebratory this will be. But that's a hype button,
Okay.
just to get the hype going.
I'll give it a
Okay.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Yeah, I was going to kick it off starting with the topical stuff we were just talking about. There's this big, I don't even know how to unpack this whole thing, but there's been this big situation brewing with Society Hotel in Old Town, and what's the group called?
The Community Free Store.
Free Store.
Yeah. Community Free Store PDX.
Which is connected to Angelita Murillo, city councilor. She kind of backs that.
Yeah, she's a big public supporter of them, right? This is the her true constituency, right? These are the people who she really represents, or the kind of I mean, as she said in past TikToks, like the communists, the anarchists, the people out here doing good work, the mutual aid workers.
Those are her folks.
Those are her folks. So yeah.
And I promise we will get to the rankings. We're going to rank all the city councilors. We're going to talk about all that stuff. But I just want to get this out of the way before, because Max and I were there a couple days ago, and it's hitting all the media now. And you wrote a fantastic article last night, which I'll link.
Thank you. Yeah, I had to race through that thing. I got off work, got done with my clients for the day, and was just feverishly pulling in all the notes and texting people. And yeah.
I was just gonna say, I'm still kind of processing it, honestly, because I was telling Max a second ago, I've lived in Portland 20 years and I've followed city politics for a long time. I've never seen anything this connected to a city councilor that's really embarrassing and has no place in politics, aside from Joanna Hardesty, which we were just mentioning a second ago. But
yeah,
I don't know. How do you feel about the whole?
I mean, some of the 2020, 2021 stuff would get, got a little in that direction, right? And that's what happens when you've got a counselor who's got activists as their staffers. I mean, that's going to happen to a degree, but I don't know. There were spicier years. I think this was the formal complaint that's lodged against Andre Miller.
Yeah.
I just Steve Novick at that meeting, the meeting where Andre Miller stood up and shouted at the counselors to get control of the room. Steve Novick ended that session with a sort of apology, but he was like, back in my day on the council, we just had people rushing into the room and screaming at us all the time. It was just really, really normal. So, I got to get used to this whole new decorum thing. But to that, I do think that Ilana Pertolgeni, council president Ilana Pertolgeni, has done a good job of trying to say, people are done with that. We're sick of that. We would we have a budget shortfall. We have a lot of issues. We have potholes that need to be filled. Can this not be a giant performative mess every time we do it?
Especially with 12 people. I know sometimes with these committee size ones, it's smaller, but there's just not time.
There's no time. You can't have a dozen people grandstand and then all of their supporters grandstand, because that's how you get, 4.5 hours to decide who the council president is going to be.
Yeah.
It's silly, and it really pisses people off, which it should. It's not a good, I mean, these people are getting paid decent 6-figure incomes, and there's a lot of them.
Yeah, and one of the reasons I felt so strongly about all of it, and I'm on the fence too of was just putting out tweets and stuff about asking Angelita to resign, because to me this week was so, because of those two things, the formal complaint, her chief of staff basically admitting in an interview that he is an activist or comes from activism, and this whole protest thing. I just think that's so much pressure for a city councilor in 1 week, and I think it's deserved. She, kind of asked for this in a way, and so I don't know. I'm just taken aback by the audacity of it.
I want to talk about the formal complaint for a second first, just for a second, because it's an interesting story. This happened. The complaint is about actions that happened at a committee meeting. This was Samir Kanal's, tiny proposed change to the police accountability agreement. There were some issues around open signal PDX and how much time that they had.
They had a hard out.
They had a hard out at 4:45 or whatever weird time it was. So people's testimony was getting cut short. everybody in the room, to the DSA's credit, including Councilor Canal, were really miffed by this. They did not want public testimony cut short. I'll throw Canal that bone. He was also upset by the idea that people were just being brutally cut off. Someone who had shown up to testify and didn't have a chance to do so. One of the two complainants in the complaint had stood up and shouted, essentially, we took off work for this. You're not respecting our time. Pretty normal complaint stuff. And then Andre Miller shortly stood up after and said, you got to get control of this room. These people are acting wild. Like, there's no decorum here. Who's in charge? Mm-hmm. Which was a little bit kind of the same thing that the woman who had just yelled. Like, it was kind of that thing of like.
And honestly, when I was watching, I don't know if I remember I was messaging with you. Somebody I was messaging with, I didn't know that that's who he was. And I thought it was just another person just that was shouting.
Yeah.
Or disrupting the meeting. So, and even now that I know that, I've been telling people, it makes me feel weird. Like, in my opinion, I don't think a city councilor staffer should be like the Jerry Springer like bouncer position. Like, I don't think that should ever be their role.
No.
And so it just weirded me out a little bit knowing that now.
Yeah.
So anyway, but
and Andre Miller's like a longtime City Hall insider, right? He was a staffer for Joanne Hardesty. Mm-hmm. He was Angelita Murillo's supervisor in that position because Murillo was a staffer for Joanne Hardesty, and then now the position has switched. Murillo's in the seat. He's not chief of staff is not the official position, but it's senior staffer.
Yeah. Because they only have, two, I think?
They have like two. Maybe. So this is, Zimmerman joked when they first got their first singular staffer, he was like, this is my chief of no staff. Like, But, the complaint is essentially that Miller was like kind of like mad dogging two of the women who had shown up to testify. It was Tiana Tozer and Loretta Guzman. And
who owns Bison Coffee.
Who owns Bison Coffee. And who did have a chance to speak. And then there was a confrontation afterwards, which was heated. There was a little bit of some race baiting, it sounds like, from Andre Miller, which is not shocking just based on his history of kind of how he acts. Something that was left out of all the reporting was that Tiana Tozer posted about this on social media immediately after the meeting, and an anonymous activist account basically came forward and was like, no, I saw what actually happened, and you physically assaulted that man. Andre Miller was physically assaulted at that meeting, and he was only defending himself. You shoved him and put hands on him. This anonymous account wouldn't matter, except for the fact that the anonymous account in question is followed by like every single DSA counselor, every single, like, so this like weird anonymous activist account actually had like thousands of followers, and is this sort of weird puppet account for somebody.
Okay.
That accusation wasn't going to stick, so the comments ended up getting deleted. The whole thing was kind of taken offline, but it did seem for a moment like this was going to be a much bigger deal. So I was surprised that they went ahead with the formal complaint, but I mean, it's fine. I don't know. I've had like one interaction with Andre Miller ever. He wasn't the most pleasant person to be around, but I'm sure I could probably say the same about myself. So
yeah, and I'm in the same position. I don't know him really personally, but I'm still just of the opinion. I think that, I don't know, we need to really figure out the appropriate line of behavior for people on the city payroll, and I'd imagine I was looking up like his previous things on the city pay data, and it's got to be higher than it in the past, and I think he was at like 70, 90 grand a year or something like that. And so just for that amount of money, I'm like, let's not be like behaving like this. I don't know. It just seems like a weird.
Yeah, it's your job to be the level head. You should be the guy who could stand there and smile, even if somebody is putting hands on you. You should be the guy who, if you've got fingertips on your chest, which I don't believe happened, but that was the accusation, you should be able to look down and go, "Hi, could you please remove your hand from like,"
or at least understand the optics being in city politics of like, these are both women. I probably shouldn't be involved in this kind of situation.
Yeah, no. It's not a good look. But I think to your point, like this is the tone. This is the Murillo.
That's the game.
Tone. This is her. It's not shocking that her staff's a little spicy. She's really spicy. I mean, that's her brand. She's a TikTok.
It definitely seems like that after this week. Yeah.
So I just wanted to mention the complaint because that kind of builds into this whole, like, this was a bad week for Angelita
It was
Murillo.
really bad,
It was
yeah.
a really bad week
really
for
bad.
Angelita Murillo. Yeah.
And I think it's also like, I don't want to like, I don't know, just tear apart this whole episode, but it is also like, I think some of these, especially young counselors that, you know, this is their first real gig in politics. I think that it's like, this is the game. Like, you're gonna be pressured by media and all this kind of stuff constantly, and
Yeah.
especially when you're doing stuff this extreme.
Yeah. Well, and okay, so I'll say the nice thing that I keep saying about Murillo, which is like, I would have screwed up in every single way she is screwing up when I was 28 years
at
old.
that age,
100%. I would be I make some of those mistakes now and I'm much older, right? Like like, you know, which is to say, I don't think she was ready for the job. I just don't. I think what we're getting is a tension between who she is and maybe should be proud of being, right? The kind of activist and leader, or whatever you want to say, that she actually is, and the person she had to present herself as to normal Southeast Portland residents in order to get elected.
To get in, yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's the dishonesty, right? Not unique for her in politics, that's politicians, but she ran as like scrappy, independent, young progressive. And if you go through her record, if you go through her past videos, which I have done at great length and cost of mental health.
I'm glad you have, because I honestly I don't think I've watched ever like one full video.
There's so many of them.
Yeah.
There's so many.
And I don't have TikTok or anything.
So. No, yeah.
I don't follow her on Instagram.
I recommend avoiding,
yeah.
But I mean, she's sort of characterized herself over the last several weeks as someone who's asking tough questions of police. And then I could cue in a bunch of clips here of her saying, I am a police abolitionist. There is no reality in which police should exist. Police cannot exist. They function exactly as intended, which is to murder marginalized people and uphold cis hetero white supremacy. Like, so she's not somebody who asks tough questions of police, unless the tough question is, should you exist? Like, justify your existence. This is that tension that's coming to light finally, because her real supporters, her real constituents, are the kind of people who say, I live in so-called Portland, Oregon, in the so-called United States of America, aka occupied Turtle Island. Like, these are the kind of people who are her real supporters. And that doesn't necessarily play well in a city council setting.
Yeah. Especially, I was thinking, when you actually hear her, you know, she's starting to be more vocal up, you know, in these meetings and stuff. Yeah. But even up there, it is very kind of different from the actions and the stuff that we saw this week. And
yeah. And it started very,
but it's kind of merging.
Yes.
Maybe, I don't know.
It started very kumbaya, right? It started very, you had, Murillo and Koyama Lane and Novick taking these adorable little buddy pictures together, and oh, the District 3 reps, we're here for you. Koyama Lane is largely quiet about this stuff. I think she knows, maybe I'm giving her more credit than she deserves, but I think that she knows that tension is too extreme. Like, the center can't hold if that tension comes to the forefront. And so she kind of says as little as possible and sticks with her very palatable unions, children, families.
Kind of the staples of,
America, apple pie. Like, and so she comes off like really likable. And she doesn't have a TikTok account. And she's real good with her social media hygiene.
Really?
Yeah. And Angelita Murillo is just not. She's just not. She's like, yeah.
It's one of those, I guess it's like, living on the bleeding edge of social media. It's like, that's the downside. She's seeing the downside of that, Angelita is.
Well,
there's tremendous upside sometimes, but this is when you just kind of bury yourself, when all of these opinions are just out there for people to see. And
I'm sure you've joked about this with friends. Like, we knew we were approaching this era, right? We knew we were approaching the era where at some point a presidential candidate is going to have a live journal account leaked to the press, right? Like, your live journal account from when you were in high school is we're approaching. That's the singularity we're approaching. Is that
You just made me think. I think mine is still out there. By the way, maybe I'll put a link.
Yeah,
it's really dumb. It's really dumb. But
I'm sure that it is. Like, this is it, right? But so we're approaching this place where you're gonna have the superintendent of schools had an OnlyFans at some point, but shut it down. Like,
this whole online history.
Yeah, we're gonna get there, and we're gonna have to navigate that. The problem is, like, Angelita Maria, we're not talking about a live journal she had when she was 16. Anyone I have spoken to her who knew her when she was 16 was like, oh, she was like a super big policy nerd. I mean, she was like
true to her handle or whatever. Yeah,
absolutely. But like, you would think of her as like, the president of the future business leaders of America or something. I mean, she was that like, what do I want to say? Like the Gilmore Girls, like the Paris Geller.
Yeah, I get what
she
you're
was
saying.
like that girl, which, not an insult. Somewhere in the college years, it seems like the anarcho-communism set in. And here we are.
Yeah.
So this is not old stuff coming to light. This is her current actual beliefs. And that's that center that can't hold. That's that tension point of what do we do when you've got a person in the city council saying, the police are being so mean to me, and all I'm doing is asking if they're spending their money appropriately. And then some jerk like me can edit that up against a clip of her saying there's no such thing as spending a police budget correctly because there should be no budget.
Yeah, it's just laid out to bear.
Yeah.
I was gonna say one more thing, I guess, before we move on, and you can too, I guess. But one of the things that really upset me just being there the other night at the Society Hotel was, because I listened to Angelita's testimony about how, I don't remember how many cops she said showed up at the previous thing.
11 squad cars, 20 cops.
How that was over policed, and this is argument against the police basically. But I didn't see any of that when I was there, and maybe that was intentional on the police's part. But this was what I saw and witnessed that day or that night was the complete opposite of what she described.
Yes. 40 to 50. So very angry people. Yeah.
Smashing stuff, hurting people. So it's like, I don't know. It's just the mantra of like 2020 era Portland of like, don't believe your eyes and ears kind of stuff is what the activists would tell you. But when you experience it, you're just like, you're full of shit. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, if I'm being uncharitable, in that public safety meeting where she repeated, 11 cars, 20 cops, 11 cars, 20, you got to hear that. You got to hear 20 cops. Oh my gosh, 20 cops. They didn't mention the protest. Only Eric Zimmerman mentioned that there was a protest in a few days, specifically targeting, he said a local business because I don't think he wanted to draw. He
didn't want to amplify it.
Yeah, that's it. Zimmerman walked that line. He said a local business seems like it's being targeted over some ethnic issues. And it was because he didn't want to say the Society Hotel, which is a Jewish-owned institution, is being targeted, with a fake pro-Palestinian protest, which I'm glad he didn't. You walk that line, but none of that was said. So it was drilled into people's minds. These cops keep over-policing. And then they show up with like 40 to 50 masked people.
Right.
And the police are now in this situation where like they've got to say, well, we don't want to look like we're over policing.
Yeah. Well, it's because I had people asking me yesterday, or the past few days, like, so the police didn't show up until the end. And I'm like, and that's been my experience with most of these type of events is that like they don't want to amplify, they don't want to create more chaos.
Yeah.
And they're also following their own guidelines and stuff.
And it is free speech until it isn't.
Yeah.
Like
even though these are unpermitted things, that's how Portland operates. They kind of let them roll until it becomes unruly.
And there's a narrative that, oh no, they just wait for a while and then they're always going to declare it a riot and then they're going to come in and arrest people and they just, they've got like an egg timer in the squad car. No, they do wait until it becomes a riot.
Yeah.
Like
they have to see a crime happen.
Yeah. and when you've got doors being forced open and you've got, people slamming on windows and then assaulting security guards. Well, assaulting security guards, it turns out, is not a First Amendment action. So yeah, then they come in. They were there the whole time to my knowledge, but they were not 11 squad cars and 20 officers. They were whatever, 2, 3,
Yeah.
whatever number that they needed, and then
Even,
they moved in when they needed to.
Even at the most, I think I only saw like 5 or 6 maybe, but
And
compared to like 40 or 50
yeah, it was like,
protesters.
I think you're right. Like 4 or 5 officers, and then 3 or 4 private security.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, up against 40, 50, mostly masked and some very obviously armed
Yeah.
people. Yeah.
And the only other thing I was thinking too, I've been thinking a lot about is I just I should find the comment in here. Maybe I'll put it on the screen. But I want to say someone tweeted at me at like, whatever the percentage that Angelita got in District 3 here where I am at, and I didn't put her on my ranking at all, but like even if it was 25%, or if it is 25% of the actual population here,
Yeah, which it's not.
I don't think that that's gonna like. I don't think this 2020 style stuff plays well with the entire city. So I'm just really curious to see like people's patience and if that wears thin with this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Even outside of District 3, just citywide.
No,
I don't think people have that.
No,
We don't want the 2020 stuff again.
No one. Half the people who participated in the 2020 stuff don't want the 2020 stuff
That's
anymore.
a good point.
I really do. And yeah, 25% of the vote, once you've got single transfer vote factored in, and it's 25% of the people who showed up to vote. And so it's like you start whittling and whittling and whittling.
Like how much support does she actually have?
Yeah,
This is, I guess, what I'm.
It's not. Yeah, it's not. It's probably not 1 in 5 people. But you're right. Let's say it's 1 in 5 people in District 3. I worry about District 3 if that's true. But yeah, I mean, now again, we're back to that tension of like,
Right.
I see how she comports herself most of the time in public, and well, what do you want to say? She's kind of likable.
Yeah,
she's like friendly. I'll give her a great compliment. She's legitimately funny.
Okay.
She is actually funny, and she knows how to work. I've
never heard that about her.
Yeah. Oh yeah, when she's in her zone, and I think the campaign trail got her really good with crowds. She can stick a joke right where it needs to land.
It's the timing.
Yeah. No, I mean Listen, she's good on that stuff.
All right.
It's a lot of it's a lot of TikTok and a
See,
lot
we
of
say
public
nice
speaking.
Stuff
we do.
her,
Like I'm not but again, that's the stage act. That's the the electable politician. And again, all politicians do it, but
it's kind of her thing's kind of fallen apart a little bit.
I've seen Olivia Clark on stage, and I've spoken to Olivia Clark candidly, and the difference between those two women is not very vast, which is awesome. It makes me feel really comfortable about her representing my district. Right. It's just not what like a widely
what you get.
She's on her best behavior on stage. She's a little more like silly and jokey in person. She believes the same things. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to look at my thing here. I'm sorry, guys. I'm looking at my phone. I just have so many notes that I didn't want to write them all down. So yeah, we'll get into our rankings here. And I think what we should do is going to be a lot of work for me, but what I'm going to do is like, I want to alternate between our rankings and then I'll put them on screen as well. Like when each of us are talking about it, we'll just put our, as the rankings fill up. Great. Does that make sense?
That makes total sense.
Okay.
Are we starting at the bottom?
I'm starting at my number ones.
Oh, we're starting at the top. I like this. This is okay. This is great. Okay.
And I did have a little note on here. I'm just bugged by, I've been trying to give these guys a grace period. I know they're still learning, but my patience wears really thin with that. I don't know if you saw, they had that meeting with the kind of sunsetting the transition team. Do you know what I'm talking about? And that kind of upset me because I just thought about, man, these guys have been planning this for what, a couple years?
Yeah.
They're paying these guys to do this transition. Of course, Michael Jordan's, kind of leading that, or I guess part of that too. And there's a lot of controversy around his pay, but
it's a high amount.
It bugs me and I'll talk about specific people in here, but how, it just constantly seems like we're watching these guys learn and we're paying them to do it. And there's no actual progress of legislation or any of that stuff. Not that we necessarily need it, but doing the actual city councilor stuff just seems like an afterthought to procedure, learning all the ins and outs.
And we keep hearing from multiple councilors, hey, I get that not everybody's happy with this, but we are still building this government.
Yeah. And I don't know. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah.
I get it. I'm still trying to give them grace because I understand when they say, yeah, this is going to be here for decades and we're trying to, I get it. But also like, guys, we're in a terrible
we
doom loop of the city and we
we
got to get
voted with
stuff
a sense
done.
of urgency. We need you to have a sense of
Yeah,
urgency. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And you do hear that from some of these guys. So
You do.
I'll mention that. All right, I guess I'll start. And these are not exact, you guys. I don't want to, I didn't put a ton of time into this. I did shift my rankings a little bit. And I'll just say I'm sorry to Dan, but I'm giving number 1 to Eric Zimmerman right now. In each of these people, I'm going to tell a little story because I've met most of them. And then I'll toss it over to you. But yeah, Eric, I think has just been the most vocal about pushing back when he needs to. He's the one talking about urgency probably the most that I hear from. And I like even the stuff I don't agree with. I just appreciate his kind of tact around all this stuff. My little story about Eric is I first of all, I've been trying to get him on here. Eric, if you want to come on, you're welcome on.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. And I talked about this a few days ago, but by the way, the city changed they used to have the emails in the open on the website, and now they changed it to a form to contact people, which kind of bugs me. But
yeah, there was a tension around that. I think the emails are back available,
okay.
but they're in a weird spot. But they are,
Okay,
and
okay.
I think it's like the standard, like first name dot last name.
I figured,
whatever.
yeah,
But
you could find it probably.
But it is more annoying than it needs to be.
Yeah, my little story is I'm pretty sure, were you at that Future Portland thing?
I'm sure that I was.
The outdoor thing that I emceed. I think
the backyard.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I introed him and called him a very handsome man, which I do think he is.
That's true.
And yeah, I don't know. That was the only kind of thing I had with him. I can't remember if I asked him a Taco Bell question. I might have. But very nice gentleman.
Yeah.
He's my number 1. So
yeah. Okay. So this is, you said that yours is not exact. Mine is rigidly scientific.
Okay.
It is exact. It is precise. So apologies to anyone who gets ranked lower than you thought. Eric Zimmerman's the number 1. It's not close. And this is no offense. There's some counselors I really like. I don't agree with Eric Zimmerman on every single thing that he said. I don't even agree with some of his votes. I was like, friend of a friend passed along a little bit of a screw you on a vote the other day, lovingly, but I just straight up disagreed with his vote. But sense of urgency, knowledge of what he's doing. As much as I'm not that willing to work with my ideological opponents, he is which is good. That's what you want in a city councilor. I think he's crushing it. I really do think, and he's, since we only actually voted for one city councilor each, your vote only counted one time, regardless of what somebody tells you. Like, Eric Zimmerman is the guy I ended up voting for. Okay. He was not my number 1 choice, but he was, after eliminations, who got my vote. He's my number 1. He's crushing it. I've spoken to him a couple of times, and I've had great experiences every time. He's a little hard to reach, like in a face-to-face context. He's not hard to get a hold of, but like to get him to take 2 hours, come to it, good luck.
Yeah, and I was thinking too, I'm sorry I didn't, because I had heard last year that he wanted me to reach out to him to get him on the show, and I should have done that.
Back before he was crazy busy.
Yeah.
That's it. That's also like not a big criticism. I'm sure the dude is absurdly busy and takes what tiny time he can to maintain a semblance of a personal life.
Yeah. And the other thing I was gonna say is I like how he, his experience with the county just seems pretty critical to, like, nobody else really brings that. I guess actually Loretta Smith, since she was also in the county. But yeah, I like that he brings that. All right, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go my number 2, Dan Ryan. Like I said, Dan, I'm sorry I put you at number 2, buddy. It's kind of, these 1 and 2 are in play, so you can jockey for position. Yeah, he's probably not even watching. So, he's been on the show. I'll put a link to that. You guys can check that out. I like everything that he's doing for the most part. Like, I think we were talking a second ago about, I do wish he was a little more, he would push back a little harder sometimes. Like, he's got kind of like soft language sometimes, and he's very polite. He's a nice guy,
and that's a role. I mean, that's a role. He's very hard to dislike. Yeah.
Did I write anything else on here? Oh, I do. I appreciate his love for sports. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
why I think that's interesting. I think sometimes I think like I don't know, just having any kind of genuine interest brings some kind of human character to local politicians because sometimes it's just if it's just activism and that kind of thing, it's going to be kind of boring. So I don't know.
And it's a little bit of an Oregon stereotype. I just think back to the gym closures during the pandemic, and you had Kate Brown, Governor Kate Brown, then governor, saying that, well, we're going to be forced to close the gymnasiums. And you look at that and go, okay, so like you have never caught a ball in your life. Like, what is the gymnasium? Like,
Yeah,
can you
the big
be more of
threat
like
of
a
it.
weird indoor nerd?
Yeah,
Like, yeah. So it's nice to have somebody who you feel like if he goes to a Timbers game, it's not like he's actually having fun. He's having fun with Portlanders. He's not just like, I don't know what that thing they're kicking around is.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and yeah. I don't know if this is what you were just saying, but yeah, I like that about. He seems like Dan's really engaged, not just with District 2, but
Yeah.
he loves just going to businesses and that type of thing and
I mean, he
meeting
is a
people. He's a community guy.
Portlander. Like
Yeah,
he,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that's my number 2.
Okay. My number 2 is Olivia Clark.
Okay.
I worry about Olivia Clark because she's quiet. She's methodical. She's very purposeful. I like her voting record,
Mhm.
which is a little boring to say, but I like her as a person. She's, she was my number 3 choice in my district. I'm not surprised. Like I met most of these people. I didn't like vote based on pamphlets. I got to actually sit down with each of these people and decide who I was voting for. She hasn't disappointed.
Mhm.
I mean, she had a track record of getting stuff done at TriMet. She's trying to get stuff done at City Council. I think the City Council's a mess, but I think she's doing what she can. And in 2026, I would be happy to keep 2 of our counselors. I would
Okay,
be
okay.
very happy to keep 2 of them.
Yeah.
It's
Well, you just made me think, I don't know why, but she like what you just said made me think like she feels like one of the people that's like, yeah, you are kind of meant to be here. Like
oh yeah,
especially after these kind of antics we were talking about earlier. It's like,
yeah.
you know, and it's not just an ageism thing I just think like some people have the attitude and like the um behaviorism and all that stuff
And if we're throwing around words like mandate, which Mayor Keith Wilson had, technically you could say Steve Novick had a mandate. These are people that they didn't
oh
need.
right,
They
right.
didn't need help to get to 25%, right?
Mhm.
They didn't need
Yeah.
Olivia Clark other than Steve Novick. They were the only 2 candidates who won outright.
It was just
If single transferable vote hadn't been a thing, if you weren't ranked in
it would
anything, they would be on your
be like a
council.
landslide pretty much.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. She has people's faith. And if you meet her and you see her speak, you go, yeah, that's a bureaucrat. That's a politician. That's
Mhm.
somebody who can
In a
navigate these stupid, boring meetings with these
right. I was gonna say
awful
in a good way,
rules.
not like in the bad
Exactly,
bureaucratic
exactly.
way.
Like she's the person you want in that just brain meltingly boring,
Yeah.
committee getting stuff done that works. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Kind of focusing on the back to basics livability kind of
Yeah,
yeah.
core services, like she's joined Eric Zimmerman and the whole, like, we need to become the city of yes. We need to get
Mm.
these permits cleared. We need to cut some of this red tape, not all of it. We don't need to become Houston, but we might need to become Austin a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Okay. That's surprising. Number 2 for that.
yeah. I know.
I like it
I
though.
think I would surprise people. She's so, there's no drama. There's no
Yes.
drama, and
Drama-free.
I hate it because that's what I want, but it gets her in the
Yeah.
news. Never. I don't even end up clipping her for my newsletter. I never end up clipping her because she's not saying anything
It's
that's like
it's kind of what you
spicy.
want, right? It's
It
it's funny
really
because
is.
I've been talking to a lot of people recently who keep bringing up they want that boring politician, and I just keep thinking of John. What is his name?
John Walker.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's like yeah, like
yeah.
and shout out to him. I wish he would have had more, got more votes and stuff. But I think that is what most people want.
Yes.
It's like just do your job. We don't need the drama. Like
I don't want most people to know who you are. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, I want most people to be
yeah.
like, nah, just like my city.
Like
There's like
the
12
city's
people. Like, I
working.
can't list all the council members.
Yeah,
I don't want to be able to list them all. So
I
this
know.
is,
Yeah,
yeah. It's fine.
Okay, this might surprise you too. My number 3, I went with. I don't know why I feel like I'm messing up her name. Elena. Am I saying her first name right?
Alana?
Alana Pernal-Giddy.
Alana Pernal-Giddy.
I don't know. I'm going, I guess, mostly off like her body language, behavior, her just being there, her presence and everything. I feel like as the president, she's usually really cordial. She's tries to be fair. I wrote down sometimes she may be too polite.
Oh yeah.
Needs urgency and clarity. I wrote that. But yeah, I like her kind of maintaining decorum when she's there. I think she's doing a decent job of that.
Yes.
I
Any
don't know as far as policy and voting. I'm not sure about that stuff, but
yeah. Any criticisms of her I have aside, the decision that she and others, but she has made, the tone that she has set at president, which is just like, we're not grandstanding. We're not doing the
mhm.
silly, no, with the cheers and the boos and this isn't British Parliament. We're not doing that.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
And I don't really have anything for her. I don't think I've actually ever met her. So,
Mm.
but anyway, yeah.
Yeah. So my number three is Dan Ryan.
Okay.
I like Dan a lot.
Yeah.
He's not in my district. I just like Zimmerman and Clark more.
Mhm.
I'm unless something huge changes, I will be endorsing Dan Ryan going into a million years from now when he's up for
Yeah.
reelection.
When is it? It's like
It's forever. I don't even
5
care.
years or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't care. No, he's great. So far, he's great. I'm excited about the Old Town skate park. That's the sort of stuff where he shines, where you
Yeah.
find out like, oh man, he's been grinding on that thing. A little skate pun that Dan wouldn't get. He wouldn't get that at all. But that's fine. He's a guy who doesn't need to know why a thing's important to know that it's important.
Yeah.
Has he had some blunders over the years as far as things that didn't turn out the way he tried? Yeah, sure. So I think it says something nice about him that he has failures on his record and he still has the amount of support that he has, because you
Yeah.
gotta have victories stacked on top of those. Portland loves ousting politicians,
Mhm.
and they didn't oust Dan Ryan.
Yeah, and I feel like I don't know if you'd agree with this, but I feel like he at least talks about those mistakes or troubles that he's
To your
had, and
face,
yeah,
100% honesty. Listen,
especially with the villages stuff. He'll be like, we went through so much, and
I,
I know he struggled with it initially, and
and it's
people critique it, I'm sure now, but
no, but
he
it's been largely successful, and
yeah.
that was his baby. I mean, I'm gonna steal from Kristen, but I was a Dan Ryan detractor. I think a lot of people were.
Hmm.
And I met him at that backyard event that you emceed, and I mean he was so candid.
Hmm.
So we had like an emotional conversation. I was blown away by him. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's my number three.
Okay,
Easy pick.
I like it. All right, where are we going? Number 4.
Hmm.
I'm going. Loretta Smith is my number 4. And I'll say this: my middle section here.
Hmm.
Not talking about my body, but the middle of these rankings are very in flux. So I'll just say that. But right now, this is where I put her, and um, I don't know. I appreciate people like her in local politics because of just her honesty, and sometimes the questions that she asks can maybe sound um, out of left field. But I just like having somebody like that on a council or on a body to bring up questions, and um, I think she's constantly obviously fighting for her district, trying to think about them in every context, no matter what's coming through the council. I'm trying to think of some criticisms I could give her. I don't know. I think sometimes she, you know, me and her definitely would not agree on all policy things, but I don't know. I would say this almost for all of them, but I think sometimes she needs to think more about not the fancy stuff and the basic stuff. And I think most of the time she's good at that,
Hmm.
but just those little few other times maybe she can
Yeah.
tighten that up.
Yeah.
I did meet her. I met her at the trying to remember the name of that place in District 1.
Oh, was that the
The golf.
Von Ebert
Yeah,
Brewing
you were
right
there.
on the golf?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
I'm everywhere. Uh,
and I wrote down. I really was starstruck to meet her because I like when I was working in the news back in the day. She was with the county, and I always even back then appreciated her just in government.
yeah.
But just seeing her in TV and editing video of her for many years, it can be weird to meet people after
Hmm.
that kind of stuff. So, but I met her and I told her that I was like, I'm starstruck to meet you, and she kind of seemed like she didn't care, but
Yeah.
she was busy, so I'm not
Yeah.
knocking her for that. But anyway, that's my number 4. Is that 4?
Yeah. My number 4 is Loretta Smith.
Oh,
Yeah. So
that's funny.
I have a feeling that if I were on city council, I would probably butt heads with her regularly and then end up voting the same way. Like it's that weird thing of like, I don't always agree with how she gets to her decisions. I don't always agree with sort of the angle that she's approaching things from. But then when the vote comes due, I usually side with her, which is good. It's good to have that challenging and ideas. Yeah. She intimidates the hell out of me. Like, really, she's one of the only ones where, again, that starstruck thing of like, yee, like,
yeah,
politician, yeah,
right, yeah.
That I don't get in the same way when I bump into Dan Ryan or Olivia Clark. I'm gonna say a thing. I don't even really want to be that careful when I say this. Okay, East Portland is not entirely black. I want to state just right off the record, East Portland is an incredibly diverse part of this city. There are many immigrant populations represented there. But the black vote of East Portland is only represented on that council by Loretta Smith. And I mean that full-throated. Candace Avalos is not from East Portland. Identity.
What do you mean when you say that?
Identity politics aside, that Candace Avalos is Afro-Latina, black East Portlanders only have, in my opinion, one true representation on that council, and that's Loretta Smith. Now, if Terrence had gotten on, we would be having a more complex conversation, right? But we're not having that complex conversation. It's Loretta Smith.
What do you mean, though, when you say, is she not from... You mean like she moved here from...
Candace Avalos moved to District 1.
Oh, okay, that's right.
Yeah,
I remember hearing that, yeah.
Yeah, she's a District 1 transplant. And you're allowed to do that, but it has a tone.
Is a weird
it has
kind
a
of
specific...
fakery.
Yeah. And, you know, I've spoken to people kind of off the record who have said, like, Candace Avalos was very, very, very Latina, very immigrant, very Spanish-speaking, ESL, rights kind of stuff. And then it came time to, like, run again, and there was this brand pivot, and it was like East Portland, Black Portland.
She's just shifting everything.
There's something, yeah, and it's like, it feels weird as like a Jewish dude to be up here being like, I'm gonna tell Black Portland how they feel, but I am echoing what East Portlanders have told me.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Yeah,
it was surprising when I got out there how clear they were about that. Like, Loretta's our girl. Like, we're voting for her.
Yeah,
she represents us. So her voice matters on that council, and the issues she brings forward are not these kind of weird little kind of progressive silly pet projects.
Yeah.
She is talking about the lived experience of East Portlanders. Yeah, so she's important to me in that regard as well.
Yeah, now you made me jog my memory. I don't know why about that, but she mentioned Terrence the other day, and it sounds like they're, they've always been pretty close. That's how I actually met her at that thing. But but I like that she's keeping him kind of as a, I don't know, advisor. I don't know what.
Yeah. I mean,
good friend, basically.
He knows so much, and he has so many connections with so many people that keeping Terrence like on your contact list is you can't lose with that. Yeah.
And I'm sure they're both super dedicated to their districts. So.
Yes, and that's it, right? Yeah. So yeah, if we're talking about real representation for East Portland, the best you've got is Loretta Smith.
Okay, where are we going here? Number 5.
Number 5.
All right, my number 5 was Olivia Clark.
Okay.
I didn't have a lot to put on here. I just put nothing except sorry for sleeping on her as a candidate, and that's true. I was even saying in the election episodes I do with Kristen and stuff, like, I just didn't understand her momentum, and I think what that is like what we were talking about earlier. Like, she is the kind of in a positive way, boring politician that you need and that you want.
Yeah.
But I think during the kind of zeal of last year, me and, a lot of people were just caught up in the kind of flashy people. And that's probably why I slept on her as a candidate.
She's not flashy.
She's not. And maybe that's what we need for every,
Very badly. Very, very badly.
But yeah, I guess most of this is probably based on her policy positions and being committed to just... She's kind of unwavering in those,
Yeah.
There's no weird surprises usually.
No.
So, yeah, she's my number 5.
Okay. My number 5 is Alana Pirtle-Guiney.
Okay.
She's my biggest surprise.
Yeah.
I she was just, I don't know. Okay. I
Did you expect more drama?
No,
Okay.
no. I expected her to be, I didn't expect her to end up as the council president.
Yeah.
Which is good. I think she would be a worse counselor if she wasn't in that position. She's very progressive. I've been sort of clear that I think the progressive movement is in its twilight years.
Oh, yeah.
And we need to get back
I don't know
to,
what. Yeah, everyone I talk to, it's a bad word.
yeah,
I even see this movement now of progressives calling themselves independent to get away from that.
Yeah, it's like we're getting back to liberalism, which, yay, love liberalism. Independent, whatever. I think the progressive movement is in its twilight years. I think,
but she's hanging on to that.
She's very progressive, and that's okay. I expected her to end up a little bit more like an Avalos or a Dunphy, a little more of a go-alonger with some of the more radical ideas.
Yeah.
No, I mean, everything that you said about her applies. She has really surprised me. I do want to acknowledge her background. She has a similar background to Olivia Clark in that they have a career of actually getting stuff done.
Mm-hmm.
So,
state legislature? I can't remember.
Oh, gosh. And now it escapes my head.
It's okay. Yeah, they both have political backgrounds.
They both have political and policy backgrounds. They both know what they're doing. Mm-hmm. Like, it's very clear, just from a systems perspective. Like, she knows what she's doing. She admits when she's learning something.
Yeah.
But you can see how quickly she picks stuff up. And that's not shocking. She's smart as hell. She's the middle of my pack because we don't agree politically on everything. And that's fine. And again, I think, we're everybody I've listed so far, if we ran through the next 2 election cycles and they were still on the council, I would count that as a win.
Yeah.
We're good. Yeah.
For the top half of these so far.
Yeah, the top half of the council is fine.
Yeah. So now's when it gets kind of dicey, maybe. Right? This is number 6.
Yeah.
And you may not like this one.
That's fine. Oh, I think I know where this is going.
Okay. I'm going Mitch Green. The bottom 6 is hard to,
I know. It's
to
fine.
get them in there. But my last guest, who I guess this episode will probably be out by then, Thad, wanted me to have him on here because Thad is a business owner and appreciates Mitch's perspective as a economist, I guess he'd call himself, right? Or
yeah, I mean, he holds a PhD and economics. Oh yeah. He's
and I'm not questioning that. Yeah,
I know you're not. I just so everybody's clear, he's not just like an economist. He's an economist. Yeah.
I mostly like just his kind of candor. I don't know if it's candor. I don't know. He operates, at least in the meetings, he's very well behaved. He's polite.
Yes.
I most of the time like the questions he asks.
Mm-hmm.
I would not say that him and I see eye to eye policy wise, but I just think he operates in a way that I appreciate, at least from what I've seen. So
okay.
That's why he's right in the middle.
I can hear that. I can hear that, and I can.
But I also know, yes, he is a DSA guy.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's like, you would know way better than me, but if he's like the least kind of vocal, maybe that's intentional. He kind of operates under the radar, maybe. But
I'll get to that. I'll get to that when we get to him.
Okay.
Yeah. But I haven't flipped the table and stormed out, so we're good. We're good so far.
Well, good, because he's here. No, I'm just kidding.
Mitch. No.
But yeah, I don't know what else to say. I've never met him. He's welcome if he wants to come on. I'd be happy to talk to him.
I think you should have him on. Like, this is all disagreements aside, there's no reason not to talk to him. Yeah. Novik.
Okay.
So now we're into the territory. I'll just be clear. Like, I am not impressed with over half the council.
Totally.
We have crossed the dotted line into territory where I could lose the rest of the pack here.
We're in the sub 50%.
We are, even at number 6. We got through 5? Yeah, we got through 5 people that I'm like, heck yeah, we'll keep them, no, Novik can go. He is a strange man. His hypotheticals are the most law school, like law professor.
Yeah.
And like, that's fine. Like, I've taken law classes. Like, law professors are cool. They come up with these insane, hey, if it's really hard to solve certain types of crime, what if we didn't send police to investigate those types of crimes so we could solve some other ones? Like,
I think he literally asked something
asked that hypothetical. And to his credit, Chief Day was like, "You're asking me to tell Portlanders we're not coming on burglary calls?"
Yeah.
And then to Novik's credit, he replied, "No, I would be responsible for telling Portlanders that. if I'm going to come up with the crazy idea, he's a weird man.
Yeah, yeah.
I disagree with him on so much. But he is where he is in the ranking because he's probably still going to be around in 2026, and
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not going to waste a lot of time trying to work against that. Yeah, he's not my pick, but he does the job,
Yeah.
and I agree with him more than half the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously, he's I haven't gotten to him yet, so he's
Oh,
I'm not happy with him.
And you're a resident of his
I'm not happy
district.
with I've actually met him like a couple hundred feet from here from my house, but
Well, there you are.
but yeah, I'll get to him.
No, understand, him being in the middle of my pack is not a compliment. It's just
Yeah.
I just have bigger beef.
Totally.
Yeah.
I keep losing track. This is 7.
This is now 7.
Okay. Jamie Dunphy. Gone Jamie Dunphy. And I'll say, like, to throw him a bone, I guess. I still am kind of trying to observe him and figure him out a little bit, but I did meet him once. My story there is, it was at I don't know if it was that same event, but there's also at Von Ebert.
Yeah.
And he was very nice, pleasant, normal introduction for about 2 or 3 minutes, and then he immediately started trashing Nick Fish, which I thought was strange because he's work for him, right?
Yeah, and that was his whole. He's like so proud to be.
That's his background and his
okay.
experience. So I thought that was kind of strange. But aside from my little story, I just think that I don't generally like what I see when he's up there. It seems like he's kind of pulling stuff out of his ass, to use that phrase. But and he's kind of, I would say, maybe the most disheveled. Like, he doesn't seem comfortable there. He doesn't seem he seems like he's definitely learning, I guess is the easiest way to put it. But
that's fair.
And generally don't agree with a lot of the stuff he does. It seems like sometimes he just rubber stamps based on his peers, exact opposite of what I would want in a city councilor, thinking independently. I don't know what I would agree with him on, actually.
Yeah.
I would say at least, he is fairly polite, it seems like. He's not trying to bring a lot of drama.
I think you and him would get along on his music stuff.
The music, yeah, I was gonna say something about the funny thing is, I don't really agree with him on that stuff, but I do think it's cool that he has that background. I've seen his crazy truck he used to have with his branding all over it. It totally fits his kind of band guy persona.
Yeah, he's Portland as hell.
And yeah, that's kind of cool, I guess. Throw him that bone.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was trying to think of other positives about him. He's there because I think he's probably more proficient and brings less drama than the people that are underneath him that I'll talk about later.
So this is where we're at, right? Because he's your Novik, essentially. It's the same. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not.
There's
not a lot of positive stuff I can say about him.
Okay.
I'm minimally okay with him.
Okay.
This far in, so
great. Well, we're not to him yet from so this one's hard. This one is difficult to admit, and because I have been so clear publicly. I've been clear on this podcast. I hate the DSA so much, so this is going to sting to do this. My number 7 is Mitch Green.
It's that painful just even at 7.
I want every single one of them gone, and I want them to be a joking footnote in Portland's history. And yet, the people below him are so much worse.
Right.
I said this the other night to a mutual friend who is a District 3 resident as well. I dislike District 3's representatives so much that in 2026, I am going to prioritize District 3, even if it means I still end up with Mitch Green on the council. And I can't stand Mitch. Like, that's how bad I think District 3 is at the moment. So,
what do you mean? You're saying you're going after anyone but him?
I'm going after Murillo and Koyama Lane.
Yeah.
They gotta go. They have to go. They are so damaging and so toxic. And Mitch Green, I can live with through gritted teeth.
The most tolerable of
the things you said about him are fair. He is the least disrespectful. He is the least crazy seeming. I got some clips of him doing some weird
Yeah.
stuff.
I was gonna say you know way more about the DSA stuff,
Oh
obviously.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. His fronted politics.
He at least puts on the facade of
Yeah,
yeah.
and he makes his arguments and he makes them soundly. He doesn't do these nasty little shots. He, I don't know if Mitch is a police abolitionist. I kind of don't think that he is, even though the DSA's official policy on that is abolition. So this is where I think maybe there was some tension between him and the DSA, and he didn't buy the whole book. But I don't know that he's lying when he says he's willing to work with public safety and he's not passionate about cutting those services. I think the others are lying. They're just lying through their teeth. But with Mitch, it's harder to say. So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna try to take him down. I want him gone, but I want him gone less than
Yeah.
where we're going.
Yeah. Well, that was I was surprisingly positive at the end there, but you're trying to throw him a little bit.
Listen. Yeah. He's not an idiot.
Yeah,
I
that's true.
Will
Yeah.
say that the man is
guy.
very smart. He doesn't have a PhD for nothing. I disagree with him almost entirely on economic theory, but
yeah.
I don't have
at least he has positions that are maintainable.
Yes.
Well, it's a good segue because my 8, we're going 8, right? Mm-hmm. Cal, you were just saying, what were you just saying about he's educated or whatever? He's a smart guy.
Yeah.
I feel the complete opposite of my number 8, which is Steve Novick. And, it's funny because everyone always jokes about his Harvard. Is that what
I believe.
Is that where he went?
I think that's kind of the...
that's like his thing that he's proud of.
I just think of him as a lawyer, but yeah.
Like just watching him and listening to these first 3 months in city council, I wouldn't know that. Like, I guess in a kind of comedic way, yeah, he comes off as like an elitist, educated guy. But like you said, like some of these things, like, and I don't want to say it's every question that he asks, but they're like middle school, like math problems. Like he'll be like, it's like those ones like solve for X or whatever. He'll just be like, well, if a train is coming this way and this is going, and it's just like, dude, what are you even talking about?
Oh yeah.
And he was probably the leader as far as my rankings of movement. Like he was up here in January, and he has sunk like way down to the bottom. Because I wanted to give him a chance. I did meet him. He was nice to me.
Yeah.
Like I said, I met him close to my house, and he was polite. And I remember him. I also, ran into him when he was a previous city councilor in the old system. Like when I lived downtown, I walked by him a few times, and I'd just be like, "There he is." You see him. He's got a very recognizable body.
He's a very signature guy.
But yeah, I do not have a lot of good things to say about him. I completely disagree with his refusal to unlock PSEF funds.
Oh yeah,
it doesn't even make sense. I don't even agree with a lot of the climate stuff, but I think that even if you're into climate, you could argue that you can use that money for a lot of this stuff that is, to make that argument that it is for climate. But he's like staunchly against using it for even like sidewalks and stuff. I don't know. It's just crazy to me. But.
Okay. So let me be mean to Novick for a second. Novick is everything that is wrong with progressivism.
Yeah.
He's a gun violence prevention candidate who isn't going all in on public safety. He wants red flags, right? He wants red flag laws, but he doesn't necessarily want adequate police to enforce the gun laws that we have. And maybe I sound like an NRA like lobbyist right now, but actually, yeah, do enforce the gun laws we already have. Mm-hmm. There's some really good ones on the books. He's an environmental guy, but he doesn't understand that some of the environmental devastation we're going to end up seeing is because the city is going to be so damn broke because we've lost our tax base that we don't have the money to do these little programs. Like it's this cart before the horse. Like, yeah.
And I was trying to think of how to phrase it. Just the way he even behaves in meetings, I think is a lot of times inappropriate. Not stuff that I like to see. He's kind of shrewd and kind of crude and like rude to people. He can come off as awkward.
Sure.
I think that, some politicians are like that, not most of the time. Most people are charismatic. He doesn't really seem to have a lot of that, but And yeah, like pretty much everything policy wise, I have not liked what he's done.
He feels very much like a politician from 2007 Portland, and he
Yeah,
was,
yeah,
right? He was.
same
That was
thing.
Portland
Yeah,
Mercury. He was in love with him. He was the strange little guy with the hook
yeah,
who said what he meant, and that was very attractive at that time, and it felt Portland as hell.
yeah. And I would say too, like these. What are we at? 8,
Mm-hmm.
9, 10, 11, 12. So these what last 4?
Mm-hmm.
I would say are unequivocally, these are people that are hurting Portland already.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
To me,
Yeah.
on
So
my list.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. So we'll
um,
so we'll do mine,
yeah.
which is Avalos.
Okay, that seems
I
charitable for putting it there, but
You would think, right? But
we got more to go here.
we got more to go. I think Avalos and Novik fall into the same camp for me. I don't know that I'm getting rid of them. Like, I don't know that there's any getting rid of Steve
Mhm,
Novik.
mhm.
And that's why I wanted to kind of spring into Avalos real quick because, I mean, Novik did have that damn mandate. I want a clean sweep in District 3. I want your district to have a
I
better
know it's a hopeless
representation.
situation,
Right.
right?
So I'm picking my battles. Candace Avalos, and I've said this a couple of times in different places, she is, similar to Novik. She's progressive Portland. She's what they stand for.
Yeah,
And I think what they stand for is stupid. And I think it's entirely counter to their actual stated goals. And I don't think that Candace Avalos will succeed at very many of the things that she sets out to do. And it drives me nuts that she's so cozy with the DSA and some of their worst ideas.
mhm,
Uh, and yet I find her and Novik and Green tolerable.
mhm.
I would love to get to making fun of the three of them because they were our worst counselors.
It's
We just have worse counselors, in
yeah.
my
These are
opinion.
still bare minimum
Yeah.
kind of things.
Yeah, I want them gone. I just
Yeah,
yeah, I gotta pick my battles.
I can see that. Yeah.
And people really like her. I don't know, for whatever reason. I don't think there's
Mhm.
any substance there. And that's mean, but it just is what it is. I think that she was picked as this sort of heir apparent to something. I mean, they
Yeah.
strapped a rocket ship to her, and she has just been fed to us by Confam and like that
Mhm.
particular progressive wing of the Democratic Party as like, this is the next squad member. You guys better get on board. She's going to
Yeah.
be the mayor of Portland, and then she's going to be the governor of Oregon. You better get ready. And I'm just looking at her going, really? I mean, if that's the next 20 years, I'm out. Like, I'm not doing that. But
Yeah, that makes sense what you're saying. Yeah,
yeah,
I agree with that. I think I'm trying to see where I'm at here.
we're on 9 now.
9. Okay. I thought maybe it was Candace, but it's not. 9. I went Samir.
Okay.
Um, again, all these final last ones I'm doing, not happy with these people at all.
Sure.
I did reach out to Samir last year and we messaged a little bit and he kind of ghosted me. But I think the last message I got from him was like, yeah, I'll kind of see, like find out some stuff about your show and we'll see. And then he never messaged me back. So,
Mhm.
but anyway, that's my one thing with story with him. Uh, there's so many bad things I could say about Samir. I don't know. He has come out as obviously maybe the biggest anti-police person besides Angelita.
Yeah.
And even though like sometimes it seems like he's just, you said it a while back already that like they're just abolitionists as much as they want to dress it up as,
Yeah.
we're just here to like monitor the police. They want to reduce and eliminate as much as they can. And you can tell that already from
Yeah.
what he's doing.
Yeah.
Um, and some of the antics stuff I don't really appreciate. It seems like he puts on a kind of nice face, but I think he likes that drama.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a DSA thing. I don't know, but
He's
um,
he's a weird one. Yeah. I'll get
you got some stuff. Yeah,
I'll get to Samir.
I'm trying to think of other like some of the stuff. A lot of these bottom feeders. I don't know what I'm calling them here.
Yeah.
They just seem so out of their depth.
Yeah.
I think if I had to estimate, I think the police stuff is where he has the most knowledge. I wouldn't say he has experience, but he's
That's
been an activist in that for a
that's
while.
very true.
Outside of that, economy, housing, all this stuff, I don't think these guys know jack shit, to be honest. Like,
Yeah.
they're just pulling talking points probably from the DSA or wherever they
Yeah.
get them from. So yeah, I don't think. I think with my final ones here, not only am I saying are these people are all hurting Portland, but they're also like they have no place in local politics to me.
Yeah, it's surprising they got elected.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. What are we, 9? Jamie Dunphy.
Okay.
And it's really simple. He won by the smallest margin. He, in my opinion, is the least qualified for the job. I don't have a lot of personal issues with the guy, but he seems to oscillate between supporting whatever Candace Avalos says and supporting whatever the DSA says. And he just sort of does that all day. And I don't need that. We've got 4 DSA candidates, and we already have Candace Avalos taking up a whole seat that she sits in. Right. I don't need her clone, assistant in the second seat. I think he's anti-business in a really old school Portland. I think he would crash the economy. In like 2006, he would take it to the mat to keep a Walmart out of Portland.
Right.
But he
even though we need every business we can get.
Every single business we can get. But he wouldn't, have a sense of urgency on housing development. And that is what has gotten us into the situation we're in Portland, right? Post 2008, we didn't build enough houses. And we were told that in 2010 and again in 2012 and again in 2000 and again and again. And every single time we went, gee golly, we should probably build some more houses. I wonder why these houses are getting so expensive.
And then they go, let's try to cap rents. And
the system doesn't work. Right. Let's explore new things. And I go, you were told by your experts over and over again that you weren't utilizing the system. We have the tools to fix this. And that, to me, Dunphy's that guy. So done. I don't have a lot on him.
Jamie Dunphy. D-O-N-E. Yeah, he definitely, I was going to say, you made me think he does, I never thought about that, but I don't know if it's because he sits next to Candace, but it does seem like he kind of defers to her a lot.
And they're
in the district, obviously.
No, but there's a podcast. The two of them were interviewed together. And I mean, I don't mean this in a mean way. I think he really looks up to Candace Avalos. Like, I think when he sees Candace Avalos, he thinks next mayor, next governor. Like he's bought into that branding of like, he's on the train.
Seems like
okay. I just disagree with him. Yeah. I'm just
Okay, where are we going? 10. Yeah, I'm going to Candace for this one. Okay. Let's see. What do I have to say? I wrote down seems like a middle schooler or high schooler. That applies to the last 3 of these. They all seem like really the kind of analogy that I keep thinking of. They seem like high schoolers doing like a senior project. Yeah, they're really proud to be here. Some might say they earned it. I don't know if I agree with that, especially with Candace, who set up the whole system herself. But
with a lot of backing.
Yeah, like all these people, whenever I hear them asking questions, putting up floating ideas, any of this stuff, they seem like they know they're not supposed to be there and they have no place there. And that's why I wrote that. And also 2 of these, Candace is fairly young, I think.
Yeah.
Seems younger than me, but and I really, not that anyone's going to give me shit about it, but I try not to be ageist about this stuff. But the younger people, you really do see, like, it's weird for me as somebody who's almost 40 to like watch these people and you go, oh yeah, they don't know like a lot about life.
Yeah, but then you hop back 15 years and go, oh yeah, but I
would have been an idiot too. Yeah. The one thing I was going to mention with her was like I don't know if you saw this, but they were doing a thing about how they are making it easier to pay the arts tax with H&R Block. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
I'll link it in here or clip it or something. But this bugged me so much because she didn't even understand what they were talking about to where, and I don't know if it's because she's never done taxes online, like as an individual.
Yeah.
But I know exactly what they were talking about because I've done taxes here for years and years.
And it's a pain in the ass to pay the arts tax because you can't just put it in your H&R Block.
Exactly. So yeah, whenever you're done with your taxes, traditionally what would happen is you're like, oh, I'm done. And then there's like one last little thing that says, oh, you need to pay your arts tax. Do you want to do it? And you say yes. And it would say, put it in an envelope and send it to Portland. So it's not even really part of the online process, even though it seems like it was. And what the city was trying to do is make that possible to be finally like, okay, well, take it out of your H&R bill or whatever.
Yeah.
or whatever service using. I think they have other providers too.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And she really latched onto that of like thinking this was some kind of business partnership with H&R Block, which is just shows you how anti-business these guys are. Like even big company aside, like I said, there's other providers I think that allow them to do this. She missed the whole point of what they were even trying to do. They were
Yeah.
trying to make it easier for people to pay this fucking thing, which everyone complains about.
Yes, because it's an annoying and extraneous, weird little step.
And that's why they don't collect a lot of them, is because no one's gonna get an envelope or the one they send to them and take time out of their day to do it as a separate process when you do your taxes. So, but she completely missed that, and they called her out on it. They're like, "Yeah, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about this last step." So that these little windows that I see like that really show me like how inexperienced these people are and how just out of their depth they are sometimes.
This is similar to the Angelita Murillo thing I mentioned last time with the Salvation Army, where she's like, aren't they super transphobic?
Did she say that in a meeting?
Yeah. She was like, don't they have some real problems with the LGBTQ community? And you had like one of the homeless services people being like, yeah, so that was like 2004.
Like before you were born.
Yeah, that was like 2000. And yeah, I know what you're talking about. And like, no, we wouldn't. Okay.
Yeah, this is Portland. That would never.
Can we not slander an organization that's trying to house like women? Can we not do that? I know they're big and like they're tied to a Christian organization, but can we not do that? Yeah.
And the only other thing I guess I'll say about Candace is, I do think she's unique in that I'm still in the camp that she should have never qualified to even be in the race. Just because of her conflict of interest with the charter.
That's it. Conflict of interest with it. Yes.
I think that's insane that she was allowed to even run.
Yeah.
Maybe in the next cycles she could get in there, but I just think it's totally inappropriate.
Yeah.
In an ethical sense to let her steer anything now that she was involved with the whole process of setting up the city council.
And the number of these nonprofit groups that she's like a founding member of that endorse her. Right. And you go, okay, so you're one of the founding members of Portland for All. And wait, who are Portland for All? Oh, they're just a dark money group for Confam and Candace Avalos and their friends. Mm-hmm. Wonderful. They seem like some sort of nonprofit group that helps people in neighborhoods. No, they don't do any of that. It's literally just a political advocacy arm of some powerful donors. Yeah.
Some people might call her Candace. Some people might call her conflict of interest.
There we go. No, yeah, I mean, but she is an AstroTurfed candidate. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. 10. Number 10. Tiffany Koyama Lane. All right. It's hard to say much about Tiffany Koyama Lane because Tiffany Koyama Lane speaks as little as possible. She never talks, yeah. But she
smiles a lot.
She's the bizarro, like dark inverse of Olivia Clark, where it's like I think she doesn't say stuff because she knows she's going to get in trouble. So she sticks to just the cuddliest, preschool for all, Andy, preschool for all. Don't you want preschool for all? Don't pay attention to the other stuff. So I will say, I'll be real Jewish for a second. I got real mad that the DSA celebrated October 7th. So I decided to message the DSA and all of the DSA candidates and all of the endorsers of the DSA candidates and ask them, hi, are you okay with this? This is disgusting. Right. Can we just at least call out gross behavior? You don't got to weigh in on a whole war. I just need you to acknowledge that this on social media happened. It's not being deleted because this group stands by it. Most people ignored me. And Tiffany Koyama Lane's campaign blocked me on all social media for asking. I was very polite, but instead of even leaving me on red and just ignoring it, they were like, no, delete chat.
You're saying this was recently or back in?
This was during the campaign. This was because I was asking all these endorsers, why are you? This is gross. Okay. Can we at least call out this? This is really, really nasty behavior.
Wow.
And her campaign was the single campaign that blocked me. And that it left that early, like, oh, okay. She avoids these conversations. Right. She's not going to stand up for what she or her friends believe in. She's going to take pictures with horrible people. And then when you point out she's in a picture with a horrible person, she's going to block you for mentioning it because she doesn't want that, that's why she's so low on my list. I think there's a lot of ugliness there that we're not getting because she's got this face. It's like the
Yeah.
sweet, kind, and anytime she speaks in council, it's just this like, I just want to really thank everybody who worked on this project for maintaining the shared humanity of everyone in the space, because at the end of the day, we are all people and we all have varied concerns, and our individual experiences, which brought us to this moment, should all be recognized in a really compassionate way that maintains, again, that we are all people.
Yeah.
And it's like that
It's the
Kamala
most,
Harris kind of
yeah,
like,
boilerplate, like ChatGPT, like,
well, like what do you say something
yeah.
other, yeah, everybody's human in the room and everybody deserves to like live and have dignity, great, like what's
Mm-hmm.
your opinion on
Right.
the thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think there's anybody in the room who's like, I would actually like to just chime in, no one here is a human, but like what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to be cruel to people. No, she's useless as vice president.
Yeah. And that,
And
yeah.
she runs cover for the nastier stuff the DSA does and puts a nice friendly branding on it.
Mm.
When I said that I don't know if Mitch Green is a liar, I know Tiffany Koyama Lane is a
Mm.
liar. Yeah.
The kind of obvious two-facedness.
Yes.
Okay. I have some stuff to say about her, but she's coming up.
Okay.
And I don't know. I'm even debating this now, these last two,
Oh.
because they're both so bad. They're just so bad, you guys. But I'm going, and I did drop her down more, but I'm going Angelita for us, 11th here.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I'm still debating flipping these.
Yeah.
But these are the two worst. Yeah, I don't know. We've said so much about her already. I did meet her at the same thing over here where I met Steve Novick. She seemed like she was worried about this tattoo that I have, which is a camera symbol. I think she probably thought it was something racist or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Some Scandinavian white supremacy.
and I told her she's welcome on the show. She is always welcome. She can come on and talk if she wants. I kind of
Sure.
doubt that would happen, but
Somewhat doubtful.
but yeah, like I said, especially these last three, just no place on a city council or even anything. I think, at best, these are activists who could do like a coordinator role with some group, some nonprofit. That's fine if Angelita were doing that.
Sure.
Getting, 140 grand a year or whatever with her a-hole chief of staff.
Yeah.
I don't think she has any place with the future of Portland, with the future of the city. I hope that's reflected in upcoming votes, but District 3 is pretty whack.
Yeah.
And yeah, the most thing I was going to dig into, I guess, with her was housing, aside from all the protest shit we talked about
Sure,
earlier. That's
yeah.
just horrible human being stuff to be doing. But yeah, she's pushing. I talked a lot about it with Thad on this. His episode will probably be out by now, but yeah, pushing an AI ban for rents at a time when our housing supply, like, well, let me just put this thing. I'll put it up here about we're at the lowest apartment construction in 10 years. That's just a horrible first legislation to be pushing right now. And even in our doom loop business environment, it's not pro anything. This is driving development, all that stuff away. I can understand why she thought it was popular maybe a few years ago.
Yeah.
But you got to read the room and you have to understand that that's not good policy to be pushing right now.
No.
And I'm curious to see how the final vote will go. I was really upset to see Eric Zimmerman was super vocal about it in the committee meeting, but there was a lot of controversy about testimony even before that committee meeting. But even in that, Eric was really upset about how they just ran that committee vote. I believe Dan Ryan was gone, which is unfortunate. But he also said he was not happy with them pushing it so early, or just the process that they were following. I don't know. There's just so much I'm trying to think about. She's just, again, these people are not good for Portland. They're pushing policies that will dig us even deeper into a hole that we're already in. And I'll go back to my last point. They all seem like high school or middle school people that are just happy to be there and are not happy to serve Portland. So
yeah. Okay. Number. I mean, I agree. Number 11. Samir Kanal.
okay,
I think he is straight up the phoniest guy on that council. I think he's phonier than Murillo because at least she occasionally has the courage to say the thing that she's thinking. I think Kanal somehow manages to be faker, like more fake than Tiffany Koyama Lane. That dude is.
So all that stuff he's saying is just BS.
It's not. It's just nonsense. He puts on a suit and he's handsome and he smiles and like. he actually shows up to some of these like community walks in the neighborhood. He showed up and walked with some of my neighbors. And I warned them ahead of time. There was a public safety walk, and I was like, this guy, you guys understand, is entirely anti-police. Like, not anti-police, like, abuse, anti-police. And my neighbors, some of them who I love, were like, Max, really? He seems so nice. And I said, give it some time.
Yeah.
And then, then the weird little fight with the union over the bias terminology, the weird little, coded threats about going after police budget if they don't leave Canal and Murillo alone.
I wanted to, you made me, I don't know why I didn't bring this up when I talked about him, but I do think that, however many police showed up at this meeting thing, I just think that's really stupid, like, for him to complain about. Like, maybe this is a hot take, I don't know, but all I heard from last year from every single candidate and every single voter was community policing.
Yeah.
And if you're upset that Portland police officers are coming to your meeting and that scares you and you think you're intimidated, I don't think you have an interest in public safety in Portland,
Also, I mean, let's say they were there. And I have no insider knowledge that this is the case, but let's say that they were there to show displeasure. Not a threat, but to show displeasure. You're the DSA. You're the biggest union backers in town. You love when union employees show up, union workers show up in their t-shirts, in their hats, and fill a chamber to let you know we are here, we are not happy with what you are doing, and we will move to oust you at the next election. That's like a classic union tactic.
Yeah.
We're not talking sugar and gas tanks. We're talking come sit in a room. Now, I'm not saying that that's what happened. I don't think that is what happened. But even if it is,
right,
that's a union tactic.
It's kind of
what are we doing?
It's just showing support and in presence.
Teachers do that all the time. Yeah, it's so obnoxious and insincere. No, he is. He's also a little bit of an enigma with his past, and usually what that means, and I will dig as much as I can.
I've never heard this.
But in Portland, usually what that means is that you grew up very, very wealthy. And so you are doing everything in your power to just kind of
obscure that stuff.
Yeah, there's not a lot about him on the internet, right? He's held a lot of jobs for very short amounts of time. He's very, very involved in the like police accountability activism since 2020-ish. But there's not a lot out there about him, and
which
that is
a kind of a red flag.
It's a red flag, especially in Portland, especially in DSA and radical circles. What that typically means is you're going to find out he grew up in a very nice house.
Yeah. Which doesn't align with the DSA.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Or it could, but just be who you are.
Right.
Just like
own up to it.
Yeah, Fergie Chambers or whatever funds a lot of this crap, and he's the heir to the, one of the heirs to the Cox media empire. But everybody knows who he is.
Yeah.
So, I think there's a lot of dishonesty there, and there's a lot of I just think he's a snake. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But he's in for 4 years. We gotta live with him.
Yeah.
We gotta live with him. It's fine.
Yeah. All right, my last one here. And like I said, I'm still like I should probably flip these, but anyway.
It's fine.
Last one is Tiffany Lane.
Yep.
How do I prop it? Tiffany
Koyama Lane. Koyama Lane. So her, hyphenate. Yeah.
I just, like what you're saying, I agree with. If like all I ever see her do is just smile and not talk.
Yeah.
And it just seems like of any one of these people, she seems like almost like she doesn't even want to be there, like, and I'm sure she does, but I'm just saying as a voter, that's what I see as somebody who is completely out of their element. Probably loved teaching. I'm guessing that's what she used to do. But
and I was, by all reports, quite good at it.
Yeah. Maybe she should keep doing that because I don't see anything useful coming out of paying her to be on council. Like it just doesn't seem like she's contributing anything, especially as vice president. I actually forgot she was that until you brought that up again.
Yeah,
doesn't seem like she's doing anything in that capacity. Like I don't even know what to say about her. Like it just seems like. What are we doing? Are we just voting on people because they smile? Like, is that what we did?
I mean, so...
Like, and I know she's DSA too, but...
No, but with Koyama Lane, that was money.
Yeah,
that was
she had all this backing.
Of backing.
I just didn't get it. And I was joking about it during election time, and I'm not kidding. Every pre-roll ad I saw on YouTube was hers. So obviously, yeah, she did have a ton of money. But now that I'm seeing this, I'm just like, what in the hell are we doing? Like, this person
Yeah.
should not be up here. Like, she's not doing anything. I don't
No.
see anything helpful at all. Like,
yeah.
and of course, she's just going to vote in a block with the DSA people.
Yes.
100% of the time. So
Yes.
I don't know. None of the people, especially how unhappy I am with Novick now. I don't feel comfortable with any of my counselors in District 3.
Yeah, you shouldn't.
I don't even like. I would probably ask someone outside of my district if I had an actual issue. I know that's kind of weird, but if I had to, I guess Steve would be the guy I'd go to. I don't know.
Sure, I guess you'd have to.
I'm so unhappy with all of them, and yeah, Tiffany is at the bottom for me because I don't even know what the hell she brings at all.
I mean,
like,
listen, you should feel perfectly comfortable going to a counselor outside of District 3 since your counselors keep coming into my district and meddling.
Yeah.
So
it's the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Like.
Yeah. I don't know what else to say about her. I never met her. I just don't get it. I don't understand what she brings. Maybe even outside of city council, like I can't tell.
Yeah, she's the one. She's the one I end up sounding the most conspiratorial about because I can show you, pictures of her, and it'll be like, this is Tiffany Koyama Lane. Look, she just seems so nice and friendly. But then standing next to her is like a violent terror supporter.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the other side of the violent terror supporter is Lydia Kiesling, her campaign manager, who is a much more outspoken DSA, like some real violent rhetoric coming out of Lydia Kiesling, local author Lydia Kiesling. She's always in the room with bad people. Like, but she never really says anything that you could really
treading carefully around that stuff.
Yeah, so all you've got is just like a ton of guilt by association. So I kind of view her as a little bit of like a reputation laundry machine.
Yeah,
she's just like she's the nice face.
I think why I put her at the bottom is like every time I watch a meeting that she's at, I get the most frustrated with her because it's like we don't need smiles, like we need. To get shit done here, and she's not like bringing even 1% of any of that to.
But I think, and this is why I think she's pretty dishonest. I think if you peel away the teacher persona, and like teachers put on personas, that's okay. You're dealing with children, yeah, of course. But if you have her take the teacher mask off, I think underneath is not great, and I think she knows that whatever is under there is not going to play well.
Yeah.
I don't, but she has that nice teacher mask that she can pop on. Yeah.
I was just thinking, wouldn't it be a nightmare if like, I don't know, this is an extremely hot take, but if all of our counselors were just like, I used to be a teacher, and they all get same lane she took.
Listen, my whole family is teachers, and you don't want that. Portland, you don't want that.
Have them be teachers. We need more teachers.
Yeah.
Get them not on city council.
Especially if she was good. And again, I have no reason to think she wasn't good.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know why I'm checking my notes. I know who it is.
Yeah,
everybody knows.
We've been talking about her for forever.
It's Angelita Murillo. She's got to go. No. After this week in particular, I'm done. I can't, Andy. I can't.
Well,
I have combed through so many hours of her content.
I feel bad for you. Yeah.
And here's the thing. 60% of the time, I actually get it.
Right.
Like when she's
I see what she...
Yeah. When she's doing like these little vignette videos where she's just walking around Portland and celebrating how beautiful it is, or she's like doing like a meme or a joke or a TikTok dance or whatever the hell. Like, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a really likable person in there that you'd want to be friends with. And then like the next clip will be her like mocking Portlanders for being too white or too NIMBY or too rich or too stupid.
They want too much police.
Or whatever. When they want police, they don't even understand that police only exist to kill black people because they're actually just modern slave catchers. Mm-hmm. Just stupid, mean, ugly stuff. But that's, 20-40% of the time. The rest of the time, she's like, you stare at somebody's footage for that long, you start seeing them as like a whole person, and you go, oh yeah, like I get why your family likes her, but I get why she has friends, but I don't want her on my city council. She's awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do. I feel bad for her because she's too young for the role. She just is.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think her politics are far too extreme. I think, this fight that she has picked with the police union cannot end well for any parties involved.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just escalating. It's just escalating. It led to the protest at the Society Hotel. I mean, that was her mob. And that was
Yeah,
a
it
that was a
really.
mob.
Yeah.
And that was her mob that never would have gotten the attention that it got without her spotlighting it.
Yeah.
The invited testimony.
When I think you probably know better than I do, but didn't I believe in that meeting a couple days ago when they were talking about all this stuff, she not only called out Jesse Burke, but the hotel. Like she named all that. She basically targeted everybody.
So
But
that
I
was
could be remembering that
she
wrong.
she didn't.
Okay.
She said if this was a local business owner, if this was an individual calling in favors, perhaps
Hmm.
someone in Old Town, and then
She's really careful
the
around that.
invited testimony of the speakers named Jesse Burke.
Okay.
Those invited speakers who are, I mean, they're DSA
Those are her
members. They're
people.
straight up DSA
Yeah.
members. Came forward and said, these are all of the people involved. These are their businesses. These are their names. This is who they work for. The police are just using this as a smokescreen to harass Samir Kanal and Angelita Murillo and to harass homeless people so that homeless people stop seeking out services. So I guess they die. It's garbage, but this is her doing, right? That's the invited testimony, spinning up this narrative so that she can kind of have that slight
It's
layer
a
of
barrier.
removal.
Yeah.
I didn't tell people Jesse Burke. I just said
She's
police and
insulated.
Old
Yeah.
Town. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's got to go. And she's got to go, in my opinion, before 2026.
Yeah, well,
She's got to go.
That's what I was curious your take on, like, because I'm basically of the opinion that she should resign or
Yes.
recall process, whatever path that needs to take. But I'm curious, what do you think any like major media is gonna take that position the next few weeks?
I don't know. We didn't see any major media.
Really?
Oregonian attached her to it a little bit. Willamette Week seemed really nervous too.
Yeah.
We didn't see any major media really attach her or attach her to any of her nastier friends. But you go look at these groups and the language that they promote on social media, and you click on their followers, and there's Angelita Murillo following every single one of them. There's Angelita Murillo re-sharing their posts. You go back just a year and a half, in Angelita Murillo's TikTok history, and there she is promoting all the same rhetoric, because that rhetoric is okay if you're just a local activist or a Joanne Hardesty staffer. Probably shouldn't be okay if you're a Joanne Hardesty staffer, but whatever.
Right.
Yeah, no, there's a deep ugliness to her politics, and
and we talked about it, I think, before we recorded, but I forgot I was going to do this at the beginning. But sometimes I don't know how much people know about me, and I have mentioned it on here and Kristen's podcast too. But one of the reasons I'm so opposed to all this stuff that she's engaging in, and one of the reasons I started the show is because when I was working at KGW years ago, this is like 2019. I don't want to say constantly, but I was assaulted and harassed by Antifa pretty much on the reg, like for several different occasions, and it completely changed my opinion on them as a group. Some people don't even think they're real, but they definitely are, and I've seen huge hundreds of people in the hundreds of crowds of them, and they do have leadership. And what I was going to say, why it's so important to me, is she's like 1 degree away removed from some of these top Antifa leadership people. I'm sure behind the scenes she's actually knows them and
but
everything.
You're right. It's like 1 degree of Kevin Bacon,
and it's just, that's insane to me for anyone actually in politics. It's like you are playing with your own career here. Like it's.
I mean, I'm just going to echo myself, but we in part resisted electing Rene Gonzalez to the position of mayor because he once retweeted Andy No.
Yeah.
And you know what? That was a really dumb thing to do. That was.
Yeah.
That is just not a smart thing for a local politician to do.
Elected or running, yeah.
Exactly. You need to be more careful about that stuff, regardless of your feelings on Andy, regardless of your feelings on any of that is very divisive language to bring up. Angelita doesn't care about that at all. Angelita is just going to go with that. It's full gas, no brakes, because she's right. She's correct. And her friends are good. Her friends are on the good side of history. They are just fighting back against oppression. Some of those people are, I mean, legitimately violent.
Yeah,
Not even violent like they use violent rhetoric. They have felony charges for
criminal history.
being violent.
Yeah. And at least two of the people that I saw there have criminal history.
I mean, there were armed people there. There were people who were like, armed to the teeth. It was not pleasant to be. I mean, we had fun. It was fine. We were relatively safe. The text I sent my family was like, surrounded but safe.
Yeah. I wasn't. I would say I went a little more than I expected. It went a little more extreme than I expected. And I just, like I said, I haven't really seen that since like the 2020 era. And that's why I'm like, what is she thinking? Trying to, stir this up.
This is, how do I want to put this? If you throw a brick through a window, you could be a radical and argue that property destruction is not inherently violent because it's just property. But what if that window has like blinds that are closed? How 100% certain are you that you didn't just strike a human being with that brick? Right? And if you strike a human being with that brick, it doesn't matter. You can argue in court that there was no intent to kill or maim.
Like you didn't see it.
You're going to be held accountable for that. Yeah. And so this is to the fact that nobody pulled a gun Thursday night is wonderful. The fact that there were only mild physical assaults and a failed pepper spraying is wonderful.
Yeah.
But there were people there, not the majority of people, maybe 5, who are legitimate violent psychopaths. And they were drawn to that like moths to a flame. And that flame was Angelita Murillo's rhetoric and messaging. That's the brick thrown. If somebody had gotten badly hurt, we'd be having a different conversation right now.
I think, at that point, everyone would be asking her to step down.
Exactly. But this is not acceptable. And I can provide a counterexample. Eric Zimmerman was so careful, again, when he mentioned that protest. He was so measured because, as you said, or, speculated, I guess we don't know his heart, when he walked up to, I'm worried about this, he was careful not to trigger a counter protest, right? He was careful not to draw even more people to the regular protest. Right. That's smart. That's good politics. That's who you want on your city council. You want somebody who is calm and level and thinking about, there are different groups in this neighborhood. They are clearly disagreeing. We need to get them to some sort of agreement and not let this turn into violence. And I want to give a little shout out. There were people outside that hotel that were pushing for peace on this issue as well. This was not just, this was a bunch of probably very impassioned and very dedicated young people who are really, really wound up about poverty and Palestine and a number of issues, and they were aimed at a problem. And they were told, that's the problem. Go make that thing too scared to be a problem anymore.
Even though none of that really lines up that much, but
even though the logic,
they just need a target.
Yes, the logic was tortured, but the question is like, who pointed them at that? Who drew those young people? Because we can set aside Palestine, we can set aside even the free store and permits and mutual aid. We saw this in my neighborhood with the P-pop stuff. And I mentioned that in my piece, like, local radical group shows up, starts doing mutual aid. Neighbors don't like it. Neighbors push back a little bit, ask for a conversation. Conversation is shut down, and then violence ensues. And it's because that radical group has been told, they've been wound up on this idea of like, don't work with the neighbors. The neighbors are capitalists and they're NIMBYs and they're white supremacists and they want poor people, like whatever stupid rhetoric. So we got to look at who's spreading the rhetoric, and who is spreading the rhetoric is sitting on our city council.
And I was thinking, it definitely gives them more headwinds or more energy when it's coming from somebody that's elected, basically.
Yes.
Gives them an officialness.
But to something you said earlier about they don't know what they're doing. This is the, like, what's the old phrase? Is like, this is the dog that caught the car.
When you catch it, you don't know.
They had no idea what to do with this thing. I sort of don't think they expected to win.
What do you mean? This the whole optics of everything?
Well, I don't think that they expected to get 4 DSA
Oh,
members
I
on the
see. I
city
see what you mean.
council
I
and
see.
two people who were deeply sympathetic to that. And like they've
Right.
got half the council.
Yeah.
And
Now they're kind of like,
what do we do? I think they wanted to go on to be the opposition party. I think the plan was we'll
mm.
get one, maybe two of them on, and we'll get to, we'll get
They
some people in the stands that are yelling.
they like being
And
that underdog kind of
yeah,
contrarian.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm really naive about that. And they're like, no, we're taking over the city. But I think that's the rhetoric. I think they like to talk about taking over the city. But I mean,
I'm really curious, yeah, to see just a lot of reactions in the next few weeks because it is just unprecedented to me, and I wouldn't be surprised to ask for people people asking for her to step down.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, if she, I don't know if she even considered this, but if she was there at that event, that would have been a line crosser too of like,
Yeah.
you're done.
Oh,
Like, there's no way.
I'm going to be honest. I was hoping to spot her there, and I don't think that she was there.
She's too careful for that.
She's a little too careful for that. But I'll say something to anybody listening who is concerned about police budgets, concerned about that overtime, concerned about a waste of police resources. Yeah, this was expensive. Stuff like this is really, really expensive.
Yeah.
And there are 100 ways to deal with these problems that weren't this, right? There's an almost infinite, perhaps, ways to negotiate these situations that are not this. The P-pop situation on Northwest 13th, they got 3, Fox 12 stories about it. And that didn't need to go down that way. That could have been a conversation in a cafe, right?
Yeah.
But these groups, they want the cops.
They
want the banners, they want the cops, they want the pepper spray. They want that stuff. They miss it, I think, because that's
they do too, yeah.
only time they were relevant.
I kept thinking the word re-energize. It just seemed, like I said, I haven't seen this kind of energy from Antifa or any of these groups since 2020 or around that time. And what you were saying earlier, though, that really resonated with me of like, I never thought about it that way of like, yeah, everyone, or at least Eric Zimmerman and a lot of other people were trying to diffuse and de-escalate, which you would think would come out of the rhetoric of the DSA people. But of course, they're the complete opposite. They were the one driving the confrontation and pushing people to do all this stuff.
And I don't know if they think in their heads, like what they're going to get out of it is that like and by we, I just mean Portland. Like I just mean normal Portland, right? We could set aside like the Jewish owned business thing or business owners or any of the neighbors. Like we're going to like show up with 2x4s or something. Like I think they think because when they were fighting the Proud Boys, they had like an enemy who would meet them on a ground where it was like, let's do it.
And it's an enemy that doesn't even really live in the city.
Exactly.
So it's easy to go after them. But this is weird because I was wondering the same thing. Like, is the goal here to just shut down a business?
Yeah. Just like what?
Or like make someone's life hell as a Portlander? Like it just seems.
Yeah, that's it. It's like why? Maybe they do have it twisted in their head that we are all like secretly Proud Boys, but that's the thing. No, we're your neighbors.
Yeah.
Like, stop attacking us.
Yeah. And I don't know. I've never seen anything that, I'm probably forgetting a lot of stuff, but that directed at a local business and a local individual. It just seemed really strange.
There was some stuff during 2020, some of the racial justice stuff. There were some businesses that fell into the crosshairs, but mostly,
actually, Bison Coffee was kind of one,
But mostly, what you saw is people took the knee. I mean, they bent him. I don't know if you remember the giant drama, and I can talk about this business now because unfortunately they went under. But Back to Eden, the little vegan dessert shop on Alberta.
I don't know anything about it. I think you're talking about the Portlandia bookstore.
No. There's a little place called Back to Eden. It was like a little vegan treats and ice creams. It was a cute little place. A little overpriced, but very good. They had it was like right before close one night, and a local like black activist came in and wanted to order. And they were like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, ma'am. Like, we just hit our cutoff. We're not accepting more orders. We're like, technically, we've been closed for 3 minutes. We were just trying to get through the end of the line, and we didn't have somebody run over and lock the door." So she goes outside and like live streams to Instagram or Facebook or whatever the hell that they're like, they just turned away black business. This business doesn't support black businesses. Instead of dealing with the fallout, the owners, a very progressive couple, they just like fired all the staff involved.
Really?
And issued this giant, please accept our apologies. Black Lives Matter forever.
This was in 2020 or
this was 2020, 2021, okay. But in that,
this was the height of that.
This is the, this was, you don't mess around with getting protested. And I think there was a lot of that. So that's why you didn't see these fights, because local business owners and neighborhoods were told, don't pick a fight with these kids. They
Yeah.
are, it's, and I guess I want to say something when I say these kids, because it might be misconstrued that I'm talking about Black Lives Matter activists. The keffiyeh clad kids on Thursday weren't actually the problem. The keffiyeh kids were shaking
Mm.
tambourines and beating drums.
Yeah. It's kind of a mixed crowd of,
The
yeah.
black bloc
Yeah.
activists who showed up armed,
Those are the ones, yeah, that are
they wanted
mean business. Yeah.
And that's what it was. It wasn't that you don't want to get a Black Lives Matter protest against you because black people will harm you. It was the crazy white people who roll in full black bloc because
Yeah.
they want to burn stuff. They will hurt you.
Yeah.
That's what we got to tease out. And I think we got to start talking about the fact that, yeah, Angelita Murillo is more one of them than
Yeah. It just seems so ludicrous in
yeah.
2025's doom loop environment.
Like,
It just
why are
is
we
like,
doing
yeah,
this?
why bring this pain to Portland?
We-
Nobody wants it.
We learned this lesson, I thought.
Yeah.
That's we ousted Joanne Hardesty. We overcorrected, perhaps. Someone could argue we overcorrected with Renee Gonzalez.
Yeah, it's kind of moderate
probably going to
council.
piss off some of my friends who like him, but that's fine.
But I mean, even Mingus and a lot of the other,
Yeah,
kind of more moderate people.
Yeah, maybe that was an overcorrection. Okay, but then let's not overcorrect back again. Like, let's slow it down.
Yeah.
You could end up with an Ilana Pertl-Gani or Dan Ryan, just somebody perfectly palatable and acceptable and competent at their job. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
I know. I'm proud of Portland right now, actually. Like, I'm pissed off about Angelita Murillo, but Thursday night was good.
Mm-hmm.
Thursday night was good.
It could have been a lot worse, for sure.
It could have been a lot worse. There was no counter protest. Like, that's the thing I really want to drill. There's no damn counter. Nobody was counter protesting Palestine.
Yeah, it didn't turn into a what do you call it? The LARPing. It didn't look like a big LARPing event where we have these two battling groups.
No, nobody.
Unfortunately, it did look like one, Antifa basically attacking a business. But you're right. We're thankful it wasn't like a big clash of.
Well, and to
ideologies.
Yes, that's it. There was no clash of ideologies. There was normal people wanting to live normal lives and be largely left alone. But they do want some rules in society. I mean, Jessie Burke kind of said in her public letter, like, we didn't just invent cities, right? We've had cities for a while. We kind of know how to run them. This isn't how you run them. Mm-hmm. Versus a group who, no, we want to do what we want to do. And if you don't like what we're doing, we will hurt you.
We'll come after you. Yeah.
We will hurt you because we're willing to. And unlike the Proud Boys, which I think was their perfect nemesis, regular people aren't willing to hurt them.
Yeah.
Regular people just want to live their lives. But I saw a bunch of people show up at that hotel who were, in some cases, a little afraid.
Yeah.
And they
go ahead, sorry.
They just had coffee and they just hung out with their friends and they just kept their friends safe. They didn't keep their friends safe with weapons. They kept their friends safe by just being together in a group and making sure everybody was okay.
Yeah.
And I really loved what I saw.
Yeah.
I loved what I saw. I loved what I heard from the outside of the hotel from people, again, trying to dissuade. It really was a small group of bad actors. But we got to look at the people in our city that are perfectly comfortable calling them in.
Right.
They need to stop showing up.
Yeah, you can't condone that. Yeah.
They need to stop showing up. The Black Bloc crew needs to stop showing up and making everything about destruction and violence. And if you are comfortable calling them in, you gotta go. You gotta go.
And at this point too, I don't want to be one of those like silences violence people, but I think like Angelita, something needs to be said about this, and if it's positive, then she gotta go. But if it's denouncing violence, which it should be, that's something she should probably say at this point.
Absolutely,
make a statement or something. The one thing I was gonna say, there was some people there, new friends that I had met there, that were definitely scared, and they were asking me before everything even started, why do they cover their faces? And I'm just like, oh boy, these guys don't know anything about these guys.
Yeah.
And that was before the Black people even showed up.
Yeah.
So, but what I saw, the people banging on the window and all that shit, those are the kind of more career professional.
Yes.
I don't know if they're higher rank, but they're in the ranks of Antifa because those are all tactics that have been around forever. They're taught that shit.
I was taught that stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
So you can kind of tell the difference between the hardcore people and then the other people, but the fact that they were there,
the fact that
is horrible.
The fact that they assaulted a guy, had a wardrobe change, hopped into a second car, right? Like they had a getaway car.
Yeah.
You don't
Coordination.
You don't protest
planning,
against a local
yeah.
business with a getaway car unless
Yeah.
you think, I might hurt somebody tonight.
Right.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, yeah, this has been an interesting combo. If you guys are interested, you can put your rankings in the comments if you want.
I would love
it's a lot of work, but
I would love to hear people's rankings.
yeah, tell us your opinions.
Especially if you're from District 3. District 3, rise up. Like,
yeah, we need some more people. I do have like a handful of people that follow me online and stuff that are in District 3, and they're kind of, we're all in the same boat of like, we wish it was better out here, like.
Listen, we're coming to help you in 2026. District 4, we got some small problems we need to deal with, but we're coming to help you, District 3, because I don't know what happened.
Yeah, it's not pretty right now.
It's not great.
Cool, man.
Right.
Yeah, this has been fun, and yeah, we'll have to. I always want to have you like as a regular guest for all this kind of stuff because you know local politics better than anyone I know, probably.
So sad. All right, but I'm always happy to come back.
All right, man. Thanks, man.